In the last episode we finally reached the Höga Kusten, or the high coast, and the landscape around us had changed from everlasting forest to a very undulating, beautiful rural area. We continued cycling late into the evening to reach the highlight of the day, Höga Kusten-bron, Sweden's highest bridge. Just after we crossed over the bridge, we finally settled into a nice small campground by a lovely lake. Well, so this is it, Ryan. We go our separate ways.
Yes, it is, man. Thank you for everything. It's been really special.
Yeah.
I get to see Sweden, northern Sweden, through your eyes, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Stay safe and stay off the E4.
That is good advice. Thank you, and we'll see you down the road.
Yeah.
Come to Colorado.
See ya.
See you later, buddy. There he goes. My new Swedish friend. Really good guy.
So now I'm on my own. It's just me and the road, and it always feels a bit sad when you're leaving a travel partner on a bike tour. And if you want to get the inside scoop of what it's like cycling with Ryan, he's basically just the same guy as you see in the videos. He's really kind and he spreads a lot of positive energy. So I've really had a blast for these 3 days that I've been cycling together south here in Sweden. But I hope this last part of my adventure will be a good one as well. So I'm just now heading down to the next city called Härnösand, and keeping my fingers crossed that I'll make the train there that will lead me all the way, or sort of all halfway at least, back home to my hometown. So I've made it about halfway to Härnösand, and it's time for my daily stop here at Esker to pick up some breakfast for the morning and also something to eat later on the train. And in honor of my friend Ryan, this is the last tunnel of the trip for me. So let's do one. Ole, 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 ole. So I made it to the train station here in Härnösand, and I have about 40 minutes to spare before the train arrives. And this is my first time going with this train company, and they state on their website that you're supposed to be able to take your bike onto the train. They have 3 places for bikes for every train, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it's not already full. So hopefully I'm able to get my bike onto the train. In the meantime, I'm just gonna enjoy a bit of breakfast that I picked up at the supermarket back there. My train finally arrived, only about 20 minutes late. Not too bad according to Swedish standards. One car was marked with a bicycle sign, so I boarded it and started looking for the bike storage area. It seemed like the bike area could actually hold 4 bikes, but at the time it was occupied by 2 strollers. So I just leaned my bike up against a wall, and so far things were going great. But not for long. So this turned out to be the train ride from hell. It's been at least 4 hours now since I left the train station back in Härnösand, and I was going to be up in Umeå in like 2 hours, and we're still only halfway. First we had a train that the electricity just shut off, and we were standing there for maybe an hour inside of a train tunnel, and then another train came to like push us on, and that didn't work, so eventually we ended up boarding that train instead. And now that train has come up here to Örnsköldsvik, where we were cycling by a couple of days ago, and this one has collapsed as well. Seems like there's something wrong with the brakes. So now we were asked to leave this train and wait for the next train, the third one, that is supposed to be here in like an hour. So now I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that I'm actually able to make it home later on today. Or late in the evening here. So this is by far the worst day I've ever had, like transporting my bike to or from a bikepacking trip. When we started approaching Umeå, after being on that train for the last 7 hours, I think, I just realized that there's another train station that's pretty close to another bus station. So with about 10 seconds to spare, I was able to catch a bus. I had to go through the terminal, up 3 escalators with a bike. People were like staring at me all the time, but I made it in time. When I pulled into the bus station, the bus also pulled in at the exact same time. But luckily enough, there were a lot of people standing there waiting. So basically just unbuckled my bike bags, threw them onto the ground, and tried to jam in my bike in the underneath storage. So while this is the end of this bikepacking trip, it's certainly not the end of the videos on this channel. I've got a lot of great things coming up here in the near future. In fact, when you're watching this, I'm currently on a bikepacking trip down in France, where I'm cycling from Paris all the way down to Bordeaux. So I'm expecting it to be a lot less mosquitoes on that trip and a lot more of wine and medieval castles. So stay tuned and subscribe to be able to follow along on that trip in a couple of weeks here. And in the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the gear that I brought along on this trip, as well as the Swedish allemansrätten, and how you're able to go on a bikepacking trip here in Sweden while avoiding most of the mosquitoes. And while we're speaking about wine and medieval towns, about 2 years ago I did a sort of similar trip in Italy, where I cycled through the wine region of Tuscany. I started up in Pisa and made my way down to Rome. A really lovely bikepacking trip that I can really recommend. And if you want to follow me along on that trip, you can do so by clicking the link up in the corner here. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one.